Okay, guys, let's get rolling here. What we're going to be talking about today. My name is Pat Barham. I'm with TradeTheSystem.com, and we're going to be talking about the ag markets. And let me ask you this question. You don't have to answer it. Do you have what it takes? As we all know, let me get here where we've got questions, where I can see those. Okay. Let me ask you a quick question in here, guys. If you don't mind, how many of you guys out there are trading futures right now? Answers? You can type it in the chat box. Let's see. And the reason I'm doing this is to make sure that y'all are okay. There's yes, yes, yes. We've got a few. Okay, what are y'all trading? Let me ask you that question then. Forex, no futures. Yes, yeah, okay, there's some futures traders. Okay. Others? Credit spreads, stocks, okay. Trading the currency. Are you trading the Forex or are you trading currency futures? Lucky. There we go. Currencies. Okay. All right, good. Well, let me hopefully introduce you to a new market that for some of you guys, if you've not traded the ag markets before, I think you're missing out on a great opportunity in here to be trading something that is a very established market that we see some great trading out of it. And again, my name is Pat Barham. I'm the owner of TradeTheSystem.com. And I have been trading in the futures market for over 35 years. And let me do this warning in here that everybody's going to be doing and touch on one thing. Trading futures, stocks, options, it's risky. Don't trade with money that you don't have. That's the warning here. Basically, if you want to summarize that, that's what it's got. Large potential risk. It also has large potential opportunities in here. Again, my name is Pat Barham. I'm owner of TradeTheSystem.com. I've been trading for 35 years. There is a bear there and a bull there. I'm the one on the right. I'm not the one on the left. I'm not the bear. I'm started in this business as an institutional grain trader. I've traded a little bit. If it's come out of the ground, produced, whatever, it's pretty much I've traded it. If it's a market that has been trading in over 35 years, I've probably traded it. I've managed businesses from the time I was 16 years old. My dad taught me that because he was owner after he got out of World War II. He was a guy that had a lot of common sense. My dad was a hard worker. He owned service stations, SO service stations and Exxon service stations up until the time I was in college. And then he retired. He taught me how to do it, and he had a 6th grade education. So I didn't come from my dad was a guy who believed in hard work. We had a farm also down in Mississippi, and we raised cows, hogs, and I've raised kids. I'm a big Gonzaga basketball fan. Any of you guys in there basketball fans? Let me see if I can get some answers out of you on that one. If y'all know, if you've ever heard of a small school up in northwest part of the country, Gonzaga University. My son played basketball there. Right now, I'm going to try to fly through, yes, John Stockton's alma mater. And as soon as I finish this, I'm going to log in, and my son right now is in Estonia playing Euro Cup basketball. He's currently living in Romania, and right now he's in Estonia playing basketball. And I also do a lot of hunting and fishing. Now that basketball's over and raising kids and doing all that, I'm a new granddad again for the second time as of a week ago. So that's a little bit about myself. What do? I trade futures. I trade stocks. I trade a little bit of everything that you can name. I've got several businesses that I run right now. And why do I do this? Because I love doing it. 35 years of trading, and I still love it as much as I started from the very first day I started doing it. I came from a background of trading in the ag business, doing a lot of different things. And this is what I'm going to talk about today, how to survive. Guys, if you're new to futures trading, you know it's not an easy thing to do. A big majority of the people who start trading futures, they get wiped out. Now, what am I actually talking about that for in something like this? In 35 years of trading, guys, I've seen a lot of people who thought, hey, I can go in here and I can pick up a couple of different things, a couple of tips. I can look at a chart, and I've got good sense. I think maybe soybeans are going up. I think the stock market is going up. I think bonds are going to go down. I think I can trade gold just like everybody else. All you have to do is make a decision, buy or sell, one of the two. That's pretty easy. I can do that business and be really profitable at it. And that's not true. The key to it all is surviving, guys, and do you have what it takes? What made Michael Phelps great? And what made Warren Buffett the world's premier investor? Was it a natural gift they were born with? How are certain people going to go? How are you going to keep improving on what you're doing? You know, with my son being a professional basketball player, 2 of my 3 kids, I've got 2 daughters and a son. 2 of my 3 kids played college basketball. My son, fortunately, when he played at Gonzaga, he played when they were #1 in the country. My son was not, put it this way. He was not a gifted athlete. He still is not a gifted athlete, but my son is a worker. And it's got him where he is now. Is he playing in the NBA? No, but he's playing professional basketball, and he's loving every minute of it. And matter of fact, he's getting paid quite well to do it overseas. And he's still working, and he still has an opportunity to make it to the highest league in the world, which is the NBA. Had workouts this summer with NBA team, actually with the Memphis Grizzlies. And did he make it? No. But is he going to go back? Yeah, he'll go back again next year. He'll keep working, going out to Las Vegas, seeing if he can't catch on, because everybody's looking for a shooter, and that's what my son is. He's a shooter, 6'7" shooting guard. And he's worked really hard. Do we have to work hard to do what we're doing? Yeah, it takes 5 to survive, and this is what I'm going to be talking about. What does it take to survive in this business? How are you going to make it? I don't care whether you're trading stocks, options, currency spreads, if you're trading credit spreads, if you're trading gold, crude oil, all those things. There's got to be something that you do. Now, at the end of this, I always want to give you something of value in a webinar. This little stream that I've got right here, and I'll put it in the chat box at the bottom at the end when I get back to it. I want to give you something that I think will help you. Now, what was Michael Phelps' training schedule? What does it take? Phelps, this was 2012. He spent about 6 hours a day training in the pool 6 days a week, six days a week, 6 hours a day. He lifted weights, he did stretching, he did all this stuff. You get up at 6:30 in the morning, be at this training at 6:30 in the morning, and then start swimming and swimming and swimming and keep swimming. And he would do this, and it would be somewhere in the neighborhood, I believe this is, he would swim about 8 miles a day. You know, most of us don't even walk 8 miles a day, much less swimming for 8 miles a day. And I'm asking all this for this one thing. My son had a training schedule and still does. He gets up in the morning, he runs, he lifts weights, and then he goes to the gym and he shoots and shoots and shoots and shoots and shoots. He works on dribbling. He does all these things. That's what enabled him to get to be a professional basketball player. Now, let me ask you this question, guys, every one of you, and you've got to answer it. What is your training schedule? You don't have to answer it on the screen. Do you have a training schedule? Or do you open up your platform, you look at it, and you say, oh, that's going up, I think I'll buy it. Oh, this is going down, I think I'll sell it. And that's about your planning for what you're doing. What are you doing to improve? What are you doing to make yourself to set apart where you can survive in this market? Why? Because you've probably read some of the terrible stories. I've never seen an actual scientific survey on this, but it's always the number that comes up. About 90% of the people that are trading in the market lose. In the futures market, it's about 90%. Do I know that's right? No, I have no clue. But from experience, I've seen a lot of people wipe out accounts anywhere from, say, $2,000 or $3,000 accounts all the way up to hundreds of thousands of dollars of accounts. When I was an institutional grain trader, I had an opportunity to learn how to trade with other people's money. That sounds pretty scary, but what I was doing as an institutional grain trader was very easy in a situation that I was in. I was alleviating risk for a client in the market. How? They were hedging. Whether they were an elevator or an end user that would take the grains and do that, or if it was a producer, someone, let's say a farm operation or a cattle operation, something like that. I've traded with companies, energy companies, where we hedged crude oil. I've traded with transportation companies where we hedged heating oil, and the grain markets, all of those things, even some of them hedged in gold. So I've traded a big majority of it. Now, what was I doing there? A lot of those people, they were looking at the market as being an opportunity for them to get rid of the risk of the market, and they did that. That's what I did. That's why it made it a little bit easier. But then I also got into the psychological side of the market where people, they started trying to pick tops and bottoms. They started trying to do these things when they needed to get rid of risk. Sometimes they added risk on to what they were doing. So over the years that I did that, they added a lot of education for me at their own expense. How do you get that education? That's my question. How are you going to get it? Well, one of the things that I think is very important is to do this. You've got to have a deliberate practice, and this is something that I did not see in a majority of the people, and that's what they paid me for. They paid me to do these things and look over the markets and to be up on the fundamentals, be up on the technicals, and give them that, but they still had to make that decision to buy or sell. Now, deliberate practice, what do we mean by that? Well, when Michael Phelps went out in practice, he had a specific thing that he did. When my son goes out to practice, he goes out, does he just pick up a basketball and just start shooting randomly? And just go to the gym, that he's in the gym and he's just shooting? No, he's got a specific thing that he does. Do you have a design, something designed specifically to improve your performance? My son would look at where he is weak in shooting, where he is stronger in shooting, positions on the floor, Is it off the left side, right side? Is it under the basket? Is he better shooting straight away? Does he shoot better when he's coming off a screen to the left or a screen to the right? How's his free throws? What's wrong with it? I can look at his shot and I can tell him if something's wrong with his shot. I can look at it because I taught him to shoot. So I know these things. These are things that we did when he was a kid, and I knew he's going to be a big kid. I'm 6'5" myself, and I knew that he wasn't going to be a post player, so I would never let anybody who ever coached him. I coached him a lot when he was young, but I never let him put him in a post and make him play a position that he didn't have the ability to dribble the ball and shoot the ball. Why? Because I knew that if he wanted to move up, if he wanted to play college basketball, if he wanted to play professional basketball, he wasn't going to be a 7-footer. Why? Because I'm not a 7-footer. My wife is not 7 feet. So it's nobody in my family that's at that height. But he did grow bigger than me. He's 6'7". So what happened? We planned out things to improve specifically. Can it be repeated over and over? And see, that's all he's doing, like shooting free throws. Can you do it over and over and over and over and over again? And pardon me if I use a lot of sports analogies, but I'm a sports fan. You can imagine this. If sports paid for my kids to go through school, exception of $1, but her brain got her through, and the others are smart too. My son, he finished his undergraduate at the University of Memphis. He played there and then transferred out to Gonzaga, and he finished his master's. So his education is completely paid for. My daughters both came out of school with no debt. We planned that. We had deliberate things that we did. Do you have a method for tracking your results, guys? This is going to be a practice that requires some focus and concentration on what you're doing. Because if you don't track what you're doing, you're never going to know if you're any good at what you're doing, other than looking at the equity in your account either go up or down. Now, tracking results. When do you trade the best? Do you trade best in the morning or afternoon? Do you trade best in a counter trend situation or a trending situation? These are things that if you're going to trade the ag markets, you've got to know that, or any market. These are things that are going to help you get success in the market. It's not a mindless activity. What's going to do? It's going to be hard. Why is it going to be hard? Because it's something that none of us like doing, unless you are a stat junkie. And this is what you need to do. If you went and looked at the stats that are now produced out of an NBA or a NFL or a Major League Baseball team, especially in basketball, because I know there is every statistic that you can get. Even they can even take a game tape. They've got the ability to go in and break down a game and say, okay, give me all the plays where this player was going to his left and shot the ball after coming off of the screen. And it will pull it up. It will tell you what the percentage is that you shot. It will tell you if you took one dribble and shot, what's your percentage? If you took no dribbles and shot, what's your percentage? All of those things. Why? Because they want to help have a deliberate practice that they're doing to improve. As traders, do we have that same determination and drive to get better? It's going to require some self-regulation. It's going to take some goal setting. Are you going to trade one contract and then move up to 2? When are you going to do that? If you're going to trade from 2 to 3, when are you going to do it? Are you just going to start trading 3 contracts or 4 contracts or 10 contracts? What precedence do you have that you can trade 1? You've got to make those things. You've got to determine what those things are. Now, self-observation, true to yourself. That's going to be possibly one of the hardest things that some of you guys can do. Will you observe yourself in a way that will give you the opportunity to really give yourself a fighting chance to be one of the, say, 10% that get successful in this business? And it makes no difference whether you're trading equities or futures or options or credit spreads or cars. It makes no difference. You've got to look at the bottom line and say, okay, am I good at this or bad at it? Am I improving or am I deteriorating? And why? If you can answer the why, then you've got the ability to possibly move on ahead in all this. Self-evaluations. And only you are able to answer those questions. You can't have anybody else do it for you. Only you can tell how it turned out. You've got to set a standard for yourself. If that standard is, and I'll challenge everyone listening, and you're going to think, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard of. If you're a day trader, challenge yourself to see if you can make $50 a day. That's a challenge. Think, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Is it really? Can you do it? Do you have what it takes? Can you make $50 a day? Prove it. Prove it to yourself. These are things to survive. You're going to have patience. You're going to have knowledge. You're going to have the guts to be able to answer some of these tough questions. You need to get yourself a system. That's why I call it trade the system. You need to have a system checklist. I'm also a private pilot, and as being a private pilot, do you walk out to an airplane, jump in it, and just fly off? No. If you do, you probably aren't going to be around very long, because how do you know that you got fuel in it? If you've got fuel in it, do you know that there is one of the primary things in it that could really cause you to crash? Water in the fuel through condensation and all that. Do you drain it out? You better have a system where you do that. How do you know that you've got oil in the engine? Most airplanes leak oil like crazy. How about, do you know your electronics are working? Do you know that your altimeter is working? Do you know if anything is working? No, you don't. That's why you have a checklist that you methodically go through. The guy who taught me to fly an airplane was, when you start walking out toward the airplane, that's when you start your checklist. You're looking at the airplane to see if there's any damage to it. How do you know that there's not some type of animal that crawled up in it? You don't, unless you go through your checklist. And then the key, number 5, and if this is very important, you need rest and you need good health. Don't trade when you're sick. Don't trade when you're worn out. Don't trade when you know you aren't at your best. You're already in a bad situation to start with, because what, 90% of the people who are trading are going to be losers. What I'm doing this for, I want to help you through some of that. 35 years of trading, I'm still here. I learned something along the way, and I can help you guys through some of this. It's an education process. Yes, it's also an awareness process that you need to go through. Now, this is it. W.D. Gann made a comment. He said, Gann could observe the mistakes made by his clients and learn from them. I did that. And then in Ecclesiastes, in the Bible, and yes, I'll mention this, political correct, some of you may go, oh, I'm tuning him out. What has been and will be again. What has been done will be done again. There's nothing new under the sun. Why do I mention that of anything? For this reason. I trade patterns in the market. Do they repeat themselves? Yes. What I like to do is make people aware of certain patterns that happen in the market and observe those and know when they're happening, that you can go, I think the market is getting ready to go up or down. I've seen this happen again. Now, this is what not to do, guys, if you expect to survive. What not to do. Lose more in losing positions than in winning positions. That's not good. That's one of the big obstacles that people have to come through. People like to let their losers run and cut their winnings short. Is that a sign of success? No. But it's mental. That's a mental thing that you've got to do. Losers average losers. Paul Tudor Jones had this on his wall. You get aggressive with losers. What do? You keep adding on to it. It's going against you, and you go, man, I know this market's going to turn around. I'm buying some more. I know this market's going to turn around. I'm going to buy even some more. It's gone even lower. I'm going to buy, and you keep doing that. What happens? You build a real big position, and your goal is to do what? Get back to even. When if you'd used a protected stop, it would have kept you from doing that. You need to have an obsession with doing well, but don't get obsessed with reaching your goal thinking that I've got to do it today. If you're going to have a goal of $50 and you only got to 40, can you say that's pretty successful? Yeah, because you probably traded right to get there. Make sure that you're doing the trade correctly to get there. Living the last losing trade, you're trying to get it all back in one fatal swoop. That's what not to do. High risk, high rollers, you're thinking, hey, man, I can do this stuff. I've got me a $100,000 account. I'm going to start off by trading 20 contracts of gold or crude oil every day. I've got enough money where I can make it work. Wrong. And then not admitting that it's your fault. You've got to man up or woman up or whatever. You got to take the skirt off, and you've got to put it in there and say, you know what, I screwed it up. It's my fault that I did this. But the key is that you don't keep repeating it. Now, what winners do? Winners get focused. And let me go back in here. And this is what I want you to do. Remember this? If y'all watch the Olympics and you have this guy that stared down Michael Phelps, what was he doing? He was looking at Phelps in here thinking, I'm going to psych you out, buddy. Phelps just looked at him and you don't apply. You're racing me. I'm racing myself. I want to be the best he could be. What did Phelps do? He beat him. And what happened? Notice their position right here. And notice their position right here. Phelps going on by him. You know what? This guy lost the race before it even started. And don't do that yourself. You need to be focused on what your objective is. Don't trade based on what everybody else is doing. Trade based on what you're wanting to do. Let winning trades run. Trade now. Don't trade your past trade. Don't try to trade thinking, okay, I'm going to take what I did. I'm going to get back what I just lost. Trade right now. If the market's telling you, maybe you might be short in the market and the market's running straight up against you, you've got to look at it and be honest with yourself and say, you know what, I need to be out. You need to trade with the edge. You need to have a plan and follow it, and you need to journal and review trades. Well, that's some things that's going to help you survive. So what do we look at now? You know, talking about survival, look at the Chicago Board of Trade. This is the way it used to be. Things have changed. How can you improve what you're doing? These guys I mentioned in the prior slide, you need to have an edge. These guys had an edge. Why did they have an edge? They could see who was buying and selling. They knew when the volume escalated, but what happened? The guys trading on the computer screen, they didn't know because they had no volume. We didn't have the volume ability to observe volume the way that they did. This is what the Board of Trade pretty much looks like now. Now there's more people on it in a day right now than this, but it's not a whole lot. Why? Because things have changed. So what has changed? Big thing is how you see volume in the market. This is what you need to do, and I really believe this is one of the key things that you need to understand. This little box down here at the bottom is volume. You need to learn how to read volume and how to trade volume. Why? Because that is your identification of where money is flowing in the market. In the ag markets, now that we've got this is soybeans, and this was November soybeans in here. Oop, there we go. And out of the soybeans, you need to understand when this volume peaks. Look at the volume right here on this bar. What happened? I teach some things in here about different seasonal trades that you can do, what you need to look at, how you need to interpret things in the market, not only in the ag markets, but in all markets, different things that you need to do. Now, what's going to happen? Off of this, when you begin to trade volume, you're going to understand that there's a reason that the guys who were trading in the pits, these guys, for years had the edge. they would see when a big trader, let's say if it was Rich Dennis, or if it was a Borsellino in the S&P pit, he was one of the biggest traders that there was. He would walk in the pit and people would follow him. When they were buying, they knew who they were buying for and selling for. These guys didn't live in not knowing what was the guy who was the biggest trader in the pit, that he was maybe who he was doing business for. But when he started buying and when he started selling, they knew it. So they would ride along with him. The locals would ride with him. We are locals. We aren't the institutional people. So what happened? When the pits got empty, there had to be a new way. And this is the edge that you get now. You need to be able to learn to read volume. Next, what we will be doing, I'm going to be doing a webinar on November the 29th at 8 p.m. Eastern. It's called Trading Ags for Profits. This is pretty much what I did with a boot camp. And I did a boot camp several years ago that ended up selling a bunch of copies. I sold a lot of it, and still people ask me if they can buy it, that I did. And in this, it will be a training camp for the ag markets, a treasure in the dirt. And why? Because, you know, ag markets, people associate that with farming, things of that nature, but there's other to it. There's also dirt involved with gold, dirt involved with crude oil trading, all those things. And that's why I'd say treasure in the dirt, that you've got an opportunity in here to go in here and take a look and glean out some of the things that I've learned in 35 years of trading. Essentials that if you expect to win, some of the things that you're going to have to do. Wealth building trades. And what is a wealth building trade? I'll show you one. And I'll just show you one now. Here's a wealth building trade. What is that? One that you put on, you hold for a while. This was a $14,500 move on a $3,300 margin requirement. That type of risk reward, that's pretty good. I did not risk more than $100 on this trade. I'll show you how I did some of this. This was back in 2014, but there's been a lot of other ones that I've done. I had a cattle trade just this past week that did really well. I bought the cattle down around 97 cents and wrote it up to $1.03. Each cent is $400. Is it a huge move? No, but it was over a $2,000 gain per contract. That's where you start building some pretty decent profits in the market. You know, that was a 439% return. That's some of the stuff I want to show you how to do. And also, two are better than one, spreads. Do you know how to trade spreads? And it could be anything. It could be buying soybeans and selling wheat. It could be buying gold and selling silver. It could be buying heating oil and selling crude oil. It could be a lot of different things. Home runs and singles. Do you know how to when to hold for a trade that might be a long-term potential profitable trade? Or is this a market environment that you should look to hit, like I mentioned, maybe $50 a day, $50 a trade maybe, where you can do a couple of those, you get $100. What would it change on your account if you did $100 a day for a month? It'd make a big difference in a lot of people's accounts. Some of them, it would give you what some mutual funds earn in 2 or 3 years if you could do that. Instead of an 8% return, you're looking at some substantial returns on the money that you're trading with. If you earned $100 a day, it's $500 a week. You earn $500 a week. You do that for a month, you've got $2,000 return. For some people, that could be, if you're trading a $10,000 account and you do that with a couple of contracts, you got a 20% return in a month. You know, think through these things. Seasonal trades with high percentage winning years. I want to show you some things in here, and that was, I want to show you how to do that. I said I was going to offer you something at the end that we had that I want you to be able to log into it, get this, and begin to look at some things. Some of the things that have already been done for us in the market, we don't have to create it. It's out there, something that will work for you. Know when to hold it, know how to hold it, trades, know when to fold the trades, and know what to risk. That's really important. A lot of people hold on to trades when they should not be holding on to them. A lot of people think they want to hold on to trades, but they don't really know how. They don't want to, I've got a profit in it, I don't want to risk it. You know, my key thing is how fast can you get to a free trade? And then play the runner. Do you know when to fold up the tent and go home? Maybe for the day, for a week, maybe if you need to just back off and for a month and not trade and refine your system. On airplanes, you've got to go in and give them an annual check. What do? You go in and check to see if anything's wrong. You go in there to see if there's corrosion in the wings. You go in there to check and make sure the engine is in good shape, that it's got good pressure to it, that there's no major oil leaks, different things. You're checking the airplane. You need to do the same thing as we go into the end of the year here and start checking this out if you've been trading for a number of months or a number of years. What are you doing right? What's worked for you this year that you can repeat next year? Now, the last thing is hire a coach. Well, why would I want to hire a coach? Well, let me put it this way. If my son, he's got a shooting coach. I did it for years, but then we make a switch. No, we made a switch. I still would consider myself his shooting coach, but there was a guy who is now, for the last few years, he had been the shooting coach for the Dallas Mavericks. He had been the shooting coach for the Los Angeles Clippers, and now he's back with the he's with the Memphis Grizzlies. Luke Walton, who is now the head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers, was in Memphis when my son was playing ball there, and he brought this guy named Bob Thade in. Bob is a shooting coach. He worked with Luke Walton. He also worked with my son because my son got to be really good friends with Luke Walton when he was at Memphis during the NBA strike. But that connection was there. My son was a very good shooter, and Bob wanted to work with him. When he worked with him, I learned a lot about shooting from him, and so did my son Drew. Is it important for you to get a coach? Yes, it is. To get another input. You can't trade in a cave all by yourself without any stimulation, I don't think, or any input from other traders. Back when I was doing the institutional traders, I used other people all the time. We would run ideas past each other all the time. Somebody may be able to see something that you don't see. You need coaches. Well, like I showed you, to get some really nice moves in the market, wouldn't it be nice to get a move like that in soybeans, a $14,000 move? Or maybe a $5,000 move. Now, let me ask you this question. If your account is less than $100,000, how are you going to get to $100,000? What amount will you have to allocate to trading futures? Based on your allocation, what is the projected rate of return on your investment? How long will it take you to reach $100,000? What will happen if you don't reach your goal? Be honest with yourself. What will happen when you reach your goal? Guys, I've been trading for 35 years. I've been trading for about 20 years on my own. And I've been able, when my kids were small, we traveled all over the United States. We went to foreign countries. We did different things that we love to do. And we still travel an awful lot. You know, my trip this year overseas is going to be to Romania. Why? I'm going to go watch my son play some basketball, and we're going to go. Last year, we went to the Czech Republic. We also went to Germany and several other places close by. Austria, whatever it was. That's, you know, my wife just plugged it in on the GPS, and I went there. We flew to these things. We've been to Europe. We've done all these things. Trading allowed me to do that. And like I said, I've been doing it for 35 years. Do I have some goals in here? Yes, I do. Am I going to redefine some of my goals? Am I going to look back on it to see what I did well and didn't do well? Yes, I am. Now, this is what I want you guys to do. And let me go on to this. This is what I want you to do. If this was worth anything to you guys today, go to, and I should have changed this. Let me change this. Don't do this one. This should be, and let me forget that. www.tradethesystem.com/yes. Trading ags for profits. Now, I also cover, because profits are profits, whether it comes from ags or whether it comes from equities. On November 29th from 8 to 10, I'm going to be running my boot camp, the beginning of that. It will also give you the ability, if you sign up, $97, you'll be in my live trading room through this time, through the end of November. So $97. What do you spend $97 on? You know, I go to Costco all the time. I cannot leave Costco without spending $100. What do I get? In a week, it's gone. $97 that you spend on this may change your trading career. Why? Because I'm going to be teaching some things that has helped other people succeed in this business. You may think, well, I'm not too sure about that. You know, there's another guy pitching, trying to sell something. I'm trying to help you. Yeah, I'm selling something. I'm selling education. It cost me a lot to get to where I am. I didn't have the webinars and all this stuff available in the 80s that we have today. I had to rely on sitting down next to some people, other traders, and learning together with these traders. Some of them new, some of them old, but I had to learn somewhere. When I was licensed in here, you had to learn these things. You had to learn all about the markets. I've done that. $97. What would you spend $97? Some of you guys drop $97 going out to eat, especially if you have a big family. Now, you also get the month Pirate Cove's live trading room. You get the boot camp, and also if you're not willing to jump in there and spend $97 on your potential success in the business, come join us and check us out at tradethesystem.com/trial. A $7 membership. How much is that? Go to McDonald's and buy you something at McDonald's. McDonald's always gets slapped in the face, but you know what? You can go buy a quick lunch and it costs you $7 or more. Are you willing to spend $7 on something to come in here, check it out, and learn and get better in what you're doing? You'll get all the stuff that the people who are the premium members, the elite pro members. Why do I call it elite pros? Because there's a difference between the level of basketball that my son plays and the NBA. You know what? You're trying to play in the NBA of trading. There's some people who have devoted their life to it. Don't think you're going to jump in it without the tools and be able to be successful. It's easy to get the chance, but don't blow the chance by losing all your money and then you have to stop. Learn. That's what I want you guys to do. Go to it, tradethesystem.com/yes. Now, was this worth it to you? Maybe yes, maybe no. This is worth it right here. Let me see if I can copy this screen. You know, I don't know if I will. Let me see if I can copy it off this other one. Let me find it, guys. Let me get this, and I'll put it in the chat room, on the chat box. And it's not letting me do it. This is called, it's called seasonal algo, and I've got it set up with season algo is a group out of the Czech Republic. I met these guys, and let me throw this in here. I'm going to put this in the chat and send it to everybody, to the entire audience. If you will send me an email, pat@tradethesystem.com, I'll send you the link to this season algo. What is season algo? It will give you this. You'll be able to go in and get something like this where it shows let's say if I was going to put on a spread of buying March corn, selling March wheat, it would give me the winners, the losers over the last 15 years or longer that I can go back. This is another service I use of determining the spreads off of it. It will show me the best equity amount, the worst equity amount. It gives you some ideas on what's the percentage of winning trades or losing trades, what your average win was, average loss off of these, and it would give you some ideas to be able to go into the market if you want to trade spreads or if you want to trade outright plays. We can do all that. Now, if you will send me an email, pat@tradethesystem.com, I'll send that to you. But is that what I really want you to do? I want you to send that to me, and I'll be glad to give you that information. What I would like for you to do is sign up for this $97, our boot camp. And I'll show you, and I'll go really in depth with the spreads. I'll go in depth with setting up some plans for making your system successful, hopefully making it successful. I can't promise anything because every person, and it's been shown even in the turtle trades that Richard Dennis did, that you can train everybody in the same room exactly the same way and the results are going to be different. Is it going to be that way with you? Yes, it will be. I can't teach you to do. I can teach you what I can teach you, but the way you trade it is all going to be different. What I want to do is give you the ability to critique yourself and get better in this business so that you'll have the opportunity for success. Now, guys, I'm out of time. TradeTheSystem.com/yes.